Year 9 Art Blended Home Learning Lesson 2. This lesson you're going to produce a first-hand observational drawing of your own eye, and to do this you will use the stippling technique to apply your details and tones. You will either use a mirror for your reflection, or you could take a close-up photo of your own eye, which could allow for editing tones and colours as needed. Both of these will require continuous referring to while drawing. So, for this, I've taken a close-up of my own eye and I've edited it to black and white to make it much more simpler for me to use. Now, we're going to be using the stippling technique, which is basically the technique of using lots of dots. That's what basically stippling is. Creating images using lots of dots. You're going to be using an A5 piece of paper, and I've already started to pre-draw and produced a fairly accurate outline ready for me to start applying my dots. Okay, so what you need to make sure is that when you're applying your dots, you are consistent and you're continuously referring to your reference image, whether it be your reflection in your mirror or your actual photograph close-up of your eye. You will make sure as well, when we're doing the pointillism, the stippling technique, that we're not applying our dots like this, because with that we do not have control over where we're placing the dots. You must place your dots where you see them. Another mistake that a lot of people make is that they will be tempted to, where they see black, to shading that black area. That shortcut can go against you, as when you shade it in the black area, it takes away the texture and it takes away the actual use of the technique. So instead, do not be tempted to shading your areas. Instead, apply your dots consistently and concentrate and build up your dots layers on top of layers. That in turn gives the pointillism stippling texture. Now, one thing to remember as well, stippling is what we're doing. Pointillism is the actual technique. So the actual act of what we're doing, the way we're applying our tone, is stippling. And as you can see, I've got my wrist on my paper and I'm applying my dots just where I see them. For my darkest areas, I'm building up my tones, stippling on top of already pre-done stipple dots. Now, in order to create our lighter tones and change our tonal value, we move the stippling dots further apart. Okay, the more concentrated and together the dots are, the more darker the tone will be. The more spaced out the dots are, okay, the lighter the tone will be. So you have to remember that golden rule: together, darker, spaced out, lighter. And through practice, then you should be able to produce a piece with lots of different tonal values. Okay? Not only are we going to use this to create texture and tone, but we're also going to use it to suggest a fine detail. Alright, again done in the stippling technique, and suggest also our highlights by identifying where the light areas are and basically leaving those the colour or the tone of our reference image. Now, when doing this, you need to make sure you use a sharp pencil. I prefer to use a graded pencil, okay? And I prefer to use a pencil because any mistakes, then they're easier to erase. But you can also, and this is one I've done earlier, You can also use a fine liner pen or biro, but I suggest you only use this if you feel really confident. Now, you also have to take into consideration not just the actual eye itself, but also what is around the eye. You need to fill the whole of this A5 piece of paper. So, we use our stippling to suggest all the texture, all the characteristics around the eye, all the details, and we also use our stippling to create our tonal values where it's darker, close together, and we grade them by producing less stipples, more further apart, to create our lighter tones. Now this work is expected to be produced to a good standard because this will be assessed alongside your portraiture, theme, fragments, project. So again, placing the stippling dots where we see them, continuously referring, do not rush it, continuously referring to our reference image. Just like with every observed drawing, whether it be from the photograph or from the mirror, we look at our objects, we look at our reference image every 2 to 3 seconds, continuously checking and rechecking, modifying our work as we progress. Right, I will continue this in my own time to completion, and I look forward to seeing all of your work. Until next time, Year 9, thank you.